I'm Justin, and we are here to talk about a very special topic today that many Americans may be unclear about: violent extremists.
Before you change a channel, ask yourself, do I know the difference between a violent extremist versus a terrorist?
We are not just here to talk about it, but rather to discuss what the Obama administration has done to counter these threats.
Do not get this confused with terrorism, like many Americans do.
To clear up the difference, as well as to give us some background information on this topic, we have Jenny Williams reporting live from the field.
Thanks, Justin and Sabrina. Let's play ball! My name is Jenny Williams. Let's get something straight here. Terrorism and violent extremism is both very bad. Really? But you are probably asking yourself, what's the difference? I'll tell you. Terrorism is defined as violent acts or acts dangerous to human life that violate federal or state law. These acts are often committed because they are motivated by religion. Just come over here with me, I'll explain something else to you. But violent terrorism, defined as, individuals who support or commit ideologically motivated violence to further political goals, can come from a range of violent extremist groups such as ISIS, but it can also come from the individual person. Oh my God!
So why must the United States be involved with violent extremism? Why is it an issue?
That's a great question, Justin. The issue here is that it is not constrained by international borders and not limited to any single ideology. It has spanned many decades and takes many forms. These people attempt to affect the government through methods of mass destruction or assassinations and kidnappings of civilians, among other things. The reason for their actions stem from personal, religious, and political beliefs, among other ideological beliefs that promote and use violence. I spoke to a representative at the Department of Homeland Security, and they said that they have created an approach to hopefully counter all forms of violent extremism. All forms. Regardless of the ideology, and they want to focus not on altering the thought of these individuals, but rather by doing their job to prevent violent attacks. Come over here and I'll explain something else. They weren't able to tell me any more, as they said it would compromise some sort of covert operations going on in various foreign countries as we speak.
Thank you, Jenny, for your insightful information.
I just think that it's very interesting that an issue this big could be confused with something else. We hope you were able to find Jenny's information very informative.
Excuse me. Hello? Are you sure? Really? Wow.
What is it?
I don't know how we were able to pull this one off, but we have a very special guest. The press secretary from the White House, Allie will be joining us momentarily.
President Obama is a very busy man and sends his regards, and is very disappointed that he couldn't reschedule his meeting with the ambassador of France, so he sent me here on his behalf.
That's fine. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. Please, tell us what the United States is currently doing to counter these terrorist-like groups.
Well, the United States is currently collaborating with various federal, state, local, territorial, tribal, private, civilian, and international entities to counter the threat of violent extremism. One way is through strengthening communities in other countries by keeping families well informed. By keeping communities well informed, the hope is that they won't turn against us if any terrorists try to get them to join their groups. This is similar to the Marshall Plan, also known as the European Recovery Program. The Marshall Plan helped to rebuild the European economy after World War II. And because the United States donated what is now worth over $100 billion in aid, the hope was that a country like Turkey would not fall to communism, because although it may be surrounded by communist countries, they would remain loyal to the United States due to the amount of support the United States gave them in their time of need.
So how does this relate to what the United States is currently trying to achieve?
By keeping these innocent families informed about what is wrong and hateful regarding crimes against humanity, the United States would help an easily targeted Muslim community by teaching them how to better understand and protect themselves, especially from things they may see online. Another goal is to make sure no one is denied their civil rights and liberties. Recently, a counter-violent extremism summit was held with around 60 foreign leaders and representatives in attendance. One of the things that they worked on was a way to identify violent extremists in order to create a more successful and effective plan to counter these people. As of right now, there is no way to identify a violent extremist. Anyone could be one. Based on this description, you could be one. It is very difficult to create a plan to counter them when a description is as vague as this. Our first step is to find a profile that fits one.
So, what has Obama specifically said about this?
When asked about violent extremism, Obama said, "Our objective is clear. We will degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL through a comprehensive and sustained counterterrorism strategy." Oh, speak of the devil. Yes, Mr. President? Consider it handled. I have to go.
Now to Ari Gutman, our chief analyst, with some information about the countries involved.
I'm Larry Gutman, and I'll be giving you some facts.
Nigeria, or the Fourth Republic, was established in 1999, ending 3 decades of military rule. Today, Nigeria is in the process of rebuilding its petroleum-based economy and fighting the Islamic militant group Boko Haram. Nigeria is a federal republic modeled after the United States, with executive power exercised by the president. Nigeria is a middle-income, mixed economy and emerging market with expanding financial service, communications, technology, and entertainment sectors. In 2013, Nigeria's estimated GDP was $522 billion. In Nigeria's region, their allies are Nigeria, Benin, Chad, and Cameroon. These countries have assisted in combating common enemies in regional conflicts, such as conflicts involving the militant group Boko Haram. Nigeria and the United States currently have a good relationship, and they have always been close allies. The United States is Nigeria's greatest trading partner and undeniably its most important diplomatic partner.
Ottoman rule of Iraq ended with World War I, and Iraq came to be administered by the British Republic as Mandatory Iraq until the establishment of the Kingdom of Iraq in 1933. A republic was established in 1958 following a coup d'etat. It was controlled by Saddam Hussein from 1979 to 2003, into which period falls the Iraq War, and the Gulf War. Saddam Hussein was deposed following the 2003 U.S.-led invasion of the country. Following the invasion, the situation deteriorated to the extent that in 2006 and 2007, Iraq was on the brink of a civil war. However, conditions improved following a surge in U.S. troops in 2007 and 2008. And the war was declared formally over in December of 2011, with the U.S. troops leaving the country. The politics of Iraq takes place in the framework of a federal parliamentary representative democratic republic. It is a multi-party system whereby the executive power is exercised by the Prime Minister of the Council of Ministers as the head of government, as well as the President of Iraq, and legislative power is vested in the Council of Representatives and the Federation Council. Iraq's economy is dominated by the oil sector, which has provided about 95% of foreign exchange earnings in modern times. In 2003, Iraq's GDP was estimated to be $221.8 billion. Iraq is allied with countries like Russia, China, North Korea, France, Germany, India, and other countries in South America. Relations with Iraq and the U.S. are tense because of the troops that we currently have in the Middle East and the troops that we removed from Iraq in 2011.
Currently, Syria is fractured between rival forces on the course of the Syrian civil war. The Syrian uprising is an ongoing armed conflict taking place in Syria. The unrest began in the early spring of 2011 within the context of Arab Spring protests, with nationwide protests against President Bashar al-Assad's government, whose forces responded with violent crackdowns. Politics in the Syrian Arab Republic take place in the framework of what is officially a semi-presidential republic, but the CIA claims that the power is in the hands of the president of Syria and his family. The economy of Syria is based on agriculture, the oil industry, and services. Syria's GDP in 2011 was estimated to be $64.7 billion. Syria was suspended from the Arab Nation League in 2011 and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in 2012. Syria continues to foster good relations with its traditional allies, Iran and Russia. Other countries that presently maintain good relations and are allies with Syria include China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Bolivia, Ecuador, and others. From among the Arab League states, Syria continues to have good relations with Iraq, Egypt, Algeria, Kuwait, Lebanon, and Oman. In early 2009, the United States began to review its Syria policy in light of changes in the country and the region, leading to an effort to engage with Syria to find areas of mutual interest, reducing regional tensions, and promote Middle East peace. Relations are tense because the U.S. does not approve of the current leader in Syria.
We'd like to welcome back Press Secretary Allie Lerner.
We just want to take a moment to talk about what Obama has done since taking office in 2008.
There has been more intervention in the past, like in the Department of Homeland Security, and they've added more programs as this threat has evolved. Can you go into some of those?
In August 2011, the White House released Empowering Local Partners to Prevent Violent Extremism in the United States, the first national strategy to prevent violent extremism domestically. In December 2011, a corresponding strategic implementation plan outlined the specific steps departments and agencies will take to achieve the strategy's central goal of preventing violent extremists and their supporters from radicalizing, recruiting, or inspiring individuals or groups in the United States to commit acts of violence. The President has signaled a counterterrorism air campaign not unlike U.S. operations in Yemen and Somalia, where forces rely heavily on intelligence to strike key targets and eventually degrade their capacity and leadership. Obama says there will be no American troops directly involved in ground combat, period. The U.S. convened an anti-ISIS coalition of Western powers on the sidelines of the NATO summit in Wales. It included Australia, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. Obama explained that we are going to be as part of an international coalition carrying out airstrikes in support on the groundwork by Iraqi and Kurdish troops. The United States, in some cases, have done nothing to intervene with violent extremists. For example, as recently as 2014, when the 300 Nigerian schoolgirls were kidnapped. You may recall the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls campaign on Twitter. That is all the Obama administration did to counter these acts.
Now, if we were to grade President Obama on his actions taken for violent extremism, we would give President Obama the letter grade C.
I guess our president is doing a pretty good job. Let's overview the successful things Obama has done during his administration.
One success was the White House hosted the CVE Summit. This allowed discussion of steps the United States and its partners could take to counter violent extremists.
Another success was the United States made sure of keeping other countries informed about violent extremism to prevent them from joining these type of organizations.
Other than that, Obama refused to put American soldiers in ground combat. The United States joined an international coalition that carried out airstrikes in support of other nations in ground combat.
In addition to keeping other countries informed, the United States also provided aid to other countries by giving them money to help them when they were in need. Despite his successes, the president could have improved on a few of his actions.
During the Nigerian girl crisis, President Obama focused mainly on a Twitter campaign with the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls.
The president probably should have been more helpful and involved with more serious actions.
Another thing the president should have done was address at the beginning of his presidency ways the United States could have handled violent extremism.
Overall, Mr. President, you are doing just okay.
Thanks for watching this special news segment on violent extremism. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Justin, and we're signing off.
Quit while I'm ahead, right?
Yes, Mr. President? Consider